Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Tell me if you can see my slides right now. Can you?
Yeah, we can see the slides.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. So thank you, Philip, for the introduction and welcome everyone to this second part of the conference. My name is Sebastian Garcia, and yes, we're going to be talking about computational propaganda. This is a very hard topic to talk about. So I hope that we can explore this topic together and also hear about you and questions and stuff that you have in mind, because it's complex. So propaganda, yeah, propaganda. And what is propaganda and why we are talking about it, right? What is the difference with fake news and disinformation? What are we going to be talking about? And the problem is that propaganda is very hard to define. There is no unique definition. So my take here is to say that the features of propaganda is that this is a high level and organized manipulation of the population, some different populations, according to political doctrine. So what you have here, the key feature is that this is a high level. This is a coordinated thing that a government or even an industry can be doing. And this is not sporadic fake news, it's not one article. You have a very long-term goal. And this is what makes it very, very hard and very, very difficult and very, very dangerous. However, in order to be sure that we understand the concept, there are three features that we are going to be talking about propaganda. And the first one is long-term exposure. This is key when you want to manipulate others, when you want to be in their minds, when you want to push an opinion, you need long-term exposure. This is not a one-time article. You need organized set of articles for a long time, years and years. Remember, in the case of the US 2016 election, the accounts were created 3 years before the election, right? The second feature is repetition. You need to repeat the message. Whatever you want to say, you need to repeat it a lot. This is the key to get into the mind of the people, okay? And the third one is emotions. Propaganda usually dips into emotion, moves you as a person not to think about it, don't be rational about it, just receive the message for a long time, a lot of times, and hear your emotions. A long time ago, Joseph Goebbels, he was Hitler's Ministry of Propaganda, and he said, they did not understand that repetition is the precursor to success, and simplicity is the key to the emotional and mental world of the masses. And unfortunately, they did a lot of propaganda, and he was very, very clear in what was working for them. And remember that the Nazis did not create the propaganda. Actually, they said that one of the influences was the US propaganda of the First World War. And then Oleg Kalugin, a former KGB general, head of the KGB political operations in the United States, he said that in 1981 alone, KGB disinformation groups funded and sponsored 70 monographs, 4,000 news articles, 60 films, 1,500 radio and TV programs, 3,000 conferences, exhibitions, and many thousands reports. This is only in 1 year during the Cold War. So when we are saying that you need repetition and you need exposure and you need long term, this is what we mean. Actually, if you look at some of the propaganda that we saw these days in social networks, you can figure it out that actually we are not seeing all of it. Because if they did this in 1981, imagine what they can do now in 2020. So to give a better mind map of the tools used by propaganda and why this is a complex topic, let's see this small graph in here. Here we have the propaganda doctrine, the ideas to transmit, that is in all the tools that you are using. And we are going to start with active measures. They are in your left in red. Active measures is not the passive collection of information, but it's when the governments actively do something to manipulate or to move some of the ideas. The traditional spine that we see here, usually like bribe and assassination, that was the case in 2018 of the Skripal family by Russia in UK, and agents for collection, like when you have agents in the field collecting information, right? This is the case of the ex-CIA officer in 2018 too. This is what we call the traditional spine. This is what we call the traditional ways of acting. And you can see that this is happening now. This is still part of the equation for these governments. However, apart from the traditional spine, they are putting a lot much more effort since the Second World War in disinformation. And this is not only governments, but mostly private organizations. Like you see there the case of the Internet Research Agency that was funded partially by an industry and company in Russia. So these governments and private organizations doing the disinformation, they have different ways of getting data. The one I want to talk about is the cyber attacks. So cyber attacks are one of the tools that these organizations use to get access to data, like the case of the Democratic Committee in US, and then use this data as part of a propaganda campaign. When they have this data, they need to distribute this data. And here we identify three main ways of doing this. The first one is fake personas. Then the second is created organizations. When I say created organization, it's really creating companies, creating a complete organization that it's having its own purpose. For example, during the Cold War, the Soviets created the World Peace Organization or the World Peace Council. There was a complete organization with people created fakely to pursue the propaganda campaign. And then the third one is the creation of news sites. So these are now very popular in the internet. You can have thousands of web pages and social networks that you create a news site. And these news sites actually are super successful. You have news sites in some countries in the last decade that are very popular, and we know that they are completely funded by propaganda campaigns. And now that you have these three ways, there are different places where you can do the distribution. The first one is leaking. You can get this data like the Democratic Committee, and you can leak this data. Then you have social networks, of course, but most importantly, the mainstream media, right? The newspaper. This is the most important way of distribution. And of course, the traditional ways that now are not so important, like TV, radio, paper, conference, documentaries. However, remember that in the domestic propaganda, the propaganda that you do in your own country, still TV and radio are the most influential media that you can use with your national mainstream news media, okay? So, but why propaganda uses this information? Which is the key? Why? What is the relationship between propaganda and disinformation? And here we have that you need to divide the position. You want to create this tension. You want to polarize the opinion and poison the organic conversations. This is the key to separate the people that is against you. You want to do a campaign with fake news or trolls pushing one idea, and then you want to push the other idea. So you have your propaganda machine pushing both ideas. You don't care if it's white or black. You just polarize and you completely poison any organic conversation in the topic. So apart from the traditional propaganda, in this era, we are talking about computational propaganda. What does it mean, right? What is the computational part in here? What's automated? What's algorithmic in here? And we can say that, okay, computational propaganda is here. We are using our tools for this, our algorithms. And is it automated? Are we automated at propaganda? And actually, well, not so much, right? It has been proven that the humans are still the vast majority of the people doing the propaganda campaigns, doing the active measures, doing the fake news, doing all the blog posts. Actually, each Internet Research Agency worker in Russia has to write 100 fake online comments per day as part of the job descriptions. And this is how they're doing it, a massive amount of people writing all together. Of course, we have bots, and we have bots in social networks and posts. We have a lot of these automations, but it has also been shown in a science paper that bots are not only the minority, there are much more humans than bots, but also that when you remove the bots from the equation, those are not decisive in the reachability, in the influence. Even without the bots, the influence in the society is going to be huge, okay? So computational propaganda, yes, automated, not so much. However, what about the computational to distribute, right? Well, in this case, yes, the computational propaganda is using AI, but it's not using their own AI. They're not creating AI. They are using the AI that is out there already. So for example, when you create some content, this content is recommended by the AI algorithms in the social networks, in Facebook, in Instagram, in Twitter. So you only create the content, and then the already AI algorithms are pushing and distributing this idea a lot. And second is the content that is distributed by advertising algorithms in the search engines. You pay for some advertising, like happened several times in the past, and this you can count on all the search engines pushing your advertising forward to thousands or millions of people. So yes, AI is helping propaganda, but in kind of an indirect way right now. And what about the creation of content? Are we using AI for creation? Well, there are no evidence that propaganda text is being created with AI. We know that there are tools that can create text with AI, and they're pretty good. We don't believe, or I don't believe, that this is going to be an issue, because actually, first, you have a lot of humans that can create good text, and also that this AI text still is not so mature. Maybe in the future, maybe in some year or something, it's going to be up to the task. But now we have no evidence of this text creation being abused. We have the deep fake videos. I'm pretty sure you heard about it. I would say forget about them. This is actually, I can call it misinformation about deep fake videos, because yes, they are real, but they are not going to be changing our propaganda campaign. It's not only hard to do, but also it's very easy to spot by humans. It's very easy to go out and deny these videos. We don't expect these videos to really change the influence campaigns of propaganda with completely fake videos. So yes, they're there, and also there are no very important cases of fake videos being used for propaganda. But yes, we do have cases of face generated by AI, like the Gans generated faces with AI. And in this case, we know the case of Oliver Taylor, where it's a fake persona with a fake face, and he was sending articles to newspapers that were published. So let's see and play some gaming here. I want you to guess who is real here. We have a man and we have a woman. One of these pictures is real. One of these pictures is fake. I want you to tell me. I'm not sure if we can chat in here, or if you are at home in the YouTube, you can take your guess. I'm going to wait some seconds. And which one is the real for you? And I would tell you that the man was a fake picture. And this is actually surprising, because when I was looking at the pictures, the picture of the woman actually looked more prepared, but actually she was using makeup. So it was a real one. So let's try again. Which one is real and which one is fake? Take your pick, look at them. We have a kid and we have a man in there. Are you up to the task of detecting fake news? Ready? So the kid was a fake. And actually, if you look at the picture, you can see that the kid has some like broccoli in his or her shoulder. So yeah, some things are still easy to spot in these ones. These pictures are coming from whichfaceisreal.com. You can go and play there. It's a very nice site, and you can try to detect it. This is marking that, okay, yes, for generating faces, we have probably a hard issue to detect. But what is the role of journalism here? We have computational propaganda, but what is the role that you play if you're a journalist in this conference, and which are your responsibilities toward this? Because, of course, as part of this equation, you have a huge responsibility towards propaganda and fake news. And I will point out four main responsibilities that you have. And the first one is mainstream media. Remember that mainstream news generate more distribution, more clicks, more engagement than the false news themselves. So it's well known that when the people is posting fake news, false news in Facebook, for example, they have like 20 or 30 reposts, and then some big news site is publishing this story, and they got millions of views. So most of the time, the real distribution is coming from the news media that is posting these things that are happening with fake news. So be careful. This is your responsibility. Don't go and help them reach more people. And the second one is the sources. You know this is your profession. Check the sources. This is very important right now because they are trying specifically to send you stuff that is fake. Of course, we know that you want the scoop, so you want to have the news and you want to have it fast. So this is a hard trade-off, right? And the third one is large teams. Remember that when you have a large team of people working, it's very hard to manipulate. Like, for example, in cinema, it's very hard to put fake news in cinema or in a movie or in a TV series because you have a huge amount of people working. However, in the news media that you have a few amount of people or one editor, it's very easy to influence the editor or even to bribe the editor. So be sure that this is part of your equation too. And fourth is the balance. Free speech, you need to respect that, the truth, and also you need the financial sustainability. You need to earn money and then of course not be manipulated. So this is a hard balance that you need to do. And actually we know that you need this sustainability, but also the fact that mainstream news are paid makes the people not able to check the fake news, and they end up checking the news in the social networks because it's for free, okay? So how are detecting this? How can have some ideas on detecting this computational propaganda? And I will say some things in here that are the pointers that we are going to be also using in our research. And later today, we have a talk with Elnas Davalle about this, that it's propaganda needs a lot of action. So you will see, remember, repetition, repetition, repetition. And you need to see this for a long time. So this is bad for the propaganda machine because it's easier to detect than just some individual piece of news. And second, yes, the fake news appear faster now because social networks and Instagram and WhatsApp, but also they disappear faster. So the period of time where a piece of news is influenced is shortened than before, okay? This is good for us trying to defend against it. The third one is the first reproduction of a fake news. So you have the fake news and you have people reproducing this news, tells a lot about the original post. So imagine I'm posting a fake news. Nobody knows about this website. Nobody's going to find it. So who is first reproducing this news is telling me, how did you know about this site? So these first sites moving the news are very important to identifying the owner of this campaign. And last, who releases, the person that is releasing the document, it's important as a misdirection of the real source. Remember the case of Lucifer 2.0, where he said that he was a lone hacker getting access to the Democratic Committee emails, and then it was proven that it was Russia. So they are doing this on purpose, so you are looking in the other direction, okay? So I will do some small conclusion in here, and then we can go to some questions because I want to hear what you think about it. My 4 conclusions are going to be the following. The first one is, in July 2020, UK MI5, the secret agency of UK, one of the secret agencies of UK, said that they are spending now more money in the Russian influence issue than during the Cold War. So you can use this to measure how important it is for certain countries to actively work against disinformation and propaganda. They know this is a very hard topic that is going to influence us for a long time. The second conclusion I want to do is about being smarter. You can hear a lot that, oh, fake news are only influencing the people that are not smart enough because they don't know what they're reading, right? And actually, there are a lot of projects to educate the people. Educate because you are not smart enough. Let's educate you so you don't fall for fake news. And this is wrong. It's not about how smart you are. It's about how we as humans, we construct our beliefs, how we make ourselves believe stuff, and how we communicate with others in our social network. Who do we trust? Why do we trust them? And the peer pressure of our society tending us towards ideas. So it happens to everyone. It's not happening only to the people that it's not educated. And then the third conclusion, it's about the targeted campaigns. Remember, disinformation on the internet allows now for doing influence in a targeted way. We saw this already several times in the world, which means that they know your preferences, they know your fears, they know what you like, they know your ideas, and they are not gonna try to convince you usually of a new idea, but they are gonna push the ideas you already have. They're gonna move concerns and issues that you have in your mind, trying to move you towards a new place. And then the fourth conclusion is going to be misinformation. Remember, when you look at this fake news and then you say, what is this fake news about? I don't even understand, right? It's something that happened in some other place. It's not even controversial, right? Because misinformation wants to divide the people, wants to polarize. They want to poison any conversation. They want to generate these doubts on you. They want to be sure that you don't know exactly what you are reading and where it's coming from, right? This is the key of misinformation. And I will end up saying that remember that fake news are not for you to believe in the fake news. Fake news are designed to make you stop believing in the real news, okay? So I will end up here and I will remain open for the QA. I think we have some minutes. And thank you very much for staying.